people of the internet, citizens of the world mind. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. Our technology has finally allowed for a bridge to be built between all peoples, and it is time we get to building it. To facilitate this construction, we feel it is necessary that we identify our commonalities with one another. This may seem to be a daunting task given the extreme diversity our species holds, but we think, with a small amount of probing, we will be able to find that we have more in common with one another than many of us realize. It really is not as complicated as it seems if we choose to make it as simple as possible. It is time we identify our common strengths and our common experiences in order to solve our common problems. We call these strengths and experiences the commonalities of existence. 1. We are all here now. We are all here right now. All of us are on the same sphere, orbiting the same sun, in the same galaxy, all in the same universe. This is a very obvious link between us all, and a commonality that even a 5-year-old can understand. 2. We all need housing, food, water, medicine, communication, and education. We have never met a person who does not want or need some form of shelter. We have never met a person who could survive without food and water. We have never met a person who has not suffered from some form of illness or injury. We have never met a person who wanted to be entirely alone or cut off from the rest of humanity. We have never met a person who did not have something to contribute. 3. We all need human rights. Every last one of us deserves to have an equal playing field on which to carry out our own game. Women, children, and the financially poor are still considered all over this great sphere as inferiors, insubordinates, and chattel. Women, children, and the poor in the histories of our species have fought wars. They have built nations. They have cured diseases. They have saved lives. Everyone deserves to live under the same set of rules, regardless of any other circumstance. 4. We all know only what we know. While it is true that the educational standards are leveling out across the globe, and 2 + 2 = 4 no matter where you go, we really only know a very limited amount of information regarding our universe, our galaxy, our solar system, our Earth, and ourselves. We all desire to know more, and we all feel that we already know aspects of the truth. 5. We all must die. If this one does not make sense, or you know of a contradiction, let us know. We will open a holy place for that person tomorrow, because the living God is among us. Until that time, though, we are all just sacks of water, bending light, with a limited number of hours to achieve our individual purposes. 5 commonalities, 5 ties that bind every human being on this planet into one common thread. As long as we look at the problems facing our planet and our species through the lens provided by this thread, there is nothing we cannot solve. So what are those problems? What are the forces that divide us? 1. National identity. Can we really afford the petty squabbles that a national identity creates? When looked through the lens of commonality, we see that it ultimately no longer matters where on this sphere you live. Your actions here and now can affect everyone everywhere, and have the potential to affect everyone into the future. Nationalism is merely a source for isolation. It splits people into factions and allows for a blurring of our common thread. It creates a mentality of justification and pride that reaches far beyond the imaginary lines drawn on a map. After all, if 2 people stand on the border of any 2 nations without knowing that there was a border, could they not perceive each other as members of the same nation? 2. Ownership and money. In its beginnings, money was a tool to create trade balance, and ownership was a way to secure territory. Today, both ownership and money are tools for control of our species and our collective resources. Without money, a person has a harder climb to reach their potential, to reach their purpose. How many brilliant minds have been wasted due to a condition of poverty? How many times has the cure for cancer or AIDS gone undiscovered because it lies in the mind of a person pecking out an existence among the detritus of richer societies or individuals. Ownership, at least in our current understanding and implementation, also creates an illusionary distinction or separation among members of our species. If you want to own something, you must first own something, and for those of us that have no ownership, we have less respect from the rest of society, especially the owners. For instance, go into a bank and ask for a signature loan. On the application, they will ask for a list of collateral, owned items. Leave this section blank and turn in the app. Unless you can show a significant amount of money in your possession already, down payment, the chances of you receiving that loan are slim to none. Why? Because you did not show any form of ownership, and because you own nothing, it will be highly improbable that you will be allowed to borrow money to attain ownership. If they do give you that loan, you should expect to pay 4 times the amount of interest than the person who applied for the exact same loan but could list collateral. How is a person supposed to achieve ownership in something? Easy. They're not. In the end, our concepts of ownership and money are as outdated as the sundial, and only to serve to produce greater ownership and wealth in those of us that already have it. 3. Politics. In our world, the greatest barrier to true human freedom and equality is the political process. This is ironic, since the fundamentals of politics, the ability and desire of 2 opposing factions or ideals to reach a mutual understanding and compromise, is what is allowed for the formation of what we understand as a set of rules and requirements for life by man, i.e. rights. This was our past. Today, politics is used more as a tool to further fractionalize and factionalize our common existence. The party line voter and the person who refuses to vote are the very apparent symptoms of this. Politics has turned rapidly away from a force for reason to a contest of popularity and an auction for control that goes to the highest bidder. Gone are the days where one man represented one voice or one vote. Now, one man can sway the vote of many, all through the manipulation of money and ownership, or worse still, one corporation can decide the fate of all men. 4. Religion, art, and science. It's all a fad or passing trend. As one religious, artistic, or scientific paradigm diminishes, a new one replaces it. But even this new view is merely a variant of the original idea. This by itself is not a dividing force. However, it is our acceptance of these fads or trends as unerring truths that does cause division. It causes sides. We are not saying we shouldn't pursue a better understanding of God or spirituality, nor are we saying that we should stop producing art or striving to know more. What we are saying is that we need to identify that the apparent truths are as cyclical and changing as the tides of the ocean, back and forth, in and out. What we know today is wrong tomorrow, and what is the truth in the future will be replaced by a new truth later on. When we forget this very obvious aspect to religion, art, and science, we create a new barrier to the development of new ideas. When we perceive something as the God's honest truth, we no longer look for answers from God, and this then leads to stagnation, competition, and the stifling of our spirit. When we label something as beautiful, we put on blinders to a new source of beauty. When we prove something to hold true, we stop looking for the aspects that are inherently false. 5. Fear of death. Just as we all must die, the fear of that death spurs many of us to actions that can be intrinsically dangerous, not only to our own personal existence, but the very existence of our species. We try and establish a sense of immortality through our actions, whether those actions take the form of children, religious pursuits, the accumulation of wealth, or even through acts of destruction and violence to gain notoriety. We even begin to see our fellow man as a source of competition for our continued existence, as if any of us have any actual control over the moments of our death or the deaths of others. By denying our looming death, or attempting to displace its imminence, we are living in a lie that only helps further separate us not only from our own purpose, but the acceptance of everyone having a purpose. These are what we see as our greatest commonalities and concerns. While there are other problems facing mankind to be sure, drugs, war, abuse, racism, neglect, disrespect, desperation, we think that they are more symptomatic of the 5 problems already listed. We also believe that if we could just focus our tactics, our solutions, around these 5 commonalities, this one common thread, and remember to always try and view each other and all the problems of our world through the lens shaded by them, all other problems will become moot. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.